Could we hear from Lynette Boiselle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I am Lynette Boiselle, and I'm here on behalf of the Rhode Island Hospitality Association, the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, the Associated Builders and Contractors of Rhode Island, and the Rhode Island Mortgage Bankers Association. I'm here to testify against House Bill 5555. The National Highway Transportation Safety Authority, I look to them to get some information on what happens to an individual when they are under the influence of marijuana. It says the ability to concentrate and maintain attention are decreased. I feel like I'm suffering. I must have taken some tonight. Significantly affected. The ability to concentrate, maintain attention is decreased. Impairment in retention time and tracking. There's a distortion of time, distance, vigilance, a loss of coordination in divided attention tasks have been reported. Why do I bring this up? Because this is the fear that businesses have. It's not the person that either takes an edible or smokes in their house and stays there. It's the employee that comes to work either already having used it or uses it on the premises, or it's a customer who comes in to use the facility. To give one example, in Ohio, there was a Court of Appeals case, Trent versus Stark, that said regardless of whether the claimant violated a workplace rule by having marijuana metabolites in his system at the workplace, he is entitled to workers' compensation benefits unless his drug use was the proximate cause of the injury. Unfortunately, obtaining proof can be very challenging. As we've heard, marijuana stays in the system for quite some time. So unless the employer is able to see the actual use of the marijuana, there's no way to be able to determine when it was used. The court in this case said, as the defendants failed to provide any evidence concerning when the claimant may have used the marijuana, the evidence of having the THC in the system was inadmissible, and then the injuries were compensable. Our concern is that this will drive workers' comp, or has the potential to drive workers' comp insurance up. In the hospitality industry, we look at, obviously, alcohol and dram shop. Alcohol in the system tends to make an individual more aggressive while they're driving. Marijuana tends to make the person slower, but the reaction times are slower as well. You put the two together, it is not a good combination when driving. So the concern from the Hospitality Association is if I'm a bartender and I serve someone, not knowing that they've had an edible, or if I tend to miss the smell, I guess, and that person goes out and has an accident, is the victim in that accident going to come after the facility that served them the alcohol, even though they may not be 0.08 or higher? I think there's a great potential for that, unless something is very, very tight in language. Just a couple more things, and then I'm going to let it go, Chair. There should be, if this is even considered, things we should talk about is the right of an employer to terminate an individual and have them not collect unemployment if they've used on the job site or before the job site. The right to test an employee if they're part of an injury on the job site so that we can determine was it work-related or not. Make it clear that if a doctor prescribes marijuana for an injury that took place on the job, it's still a federally illegal substance. We should make it very clear that workers' comp is not going to pay for someone's marijuana. There's concerns that that could be abused very easily. And if somebody does have an accident, I would say if they're not 0.08 and they have THC in the system, it should be presumed to be marijuana related, and let the individual then try to overcome that presumption. There are others, Chairman, I'll be happy to talk to you, and others, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but we do think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered before we move forward.
Okay, I think you've made that point. Any questions? Representative Vella Wilkinson.
Just because you're a former classmate of mine doesn't mean you can beat up on me. We went to law school together.
Lynette, let me ask you something. We've had testimony earlier this evening indicating that the medical marijuana program has been up and running in the state for 6 years. Has there been any evidence, or is anyone looking at whether there was any correlation between the use of those individuals who have prescribed medical marijuana and any moving accidents within the state of Rhode Island?
I have not seen it. I've seen preliminary data out of Colorado, and it does look like there are some correlation, but that's not my study. There's a letter from the DA, and I do have a copy I can give you, that talks about the increase in crime and also increase in accidents.
Thank you.
But that's Colorado, not here.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Lynette, Terry Matian went home, correct?
He would echo for the lumber dealers.
Yes, he was signed up on behalf of the Rhode Island Lumber Dealers. He was for Representative Canario's Bill 5551 and against Representative Slater's Bill 5555.